Today on America's Court with Judge Ross.
Goat yoga is, you do.
Is that a thing?
Yes, that's a thing. They also do it without.
Because I see people in the audience going, oh,
Yeah.
goat yoga?
No.
Oh, yeah, I'm all in on that.
Yeah, that's a California thing.
Okay. Of course it is. In my courtroom, it's about equity and fairness. Stop. Is that true? I don't want you to understand. I want you to overstand.
Yes, sir.
That's why they pay me the big bucks. Justice should be more than just some foreign concept. I actually want you to learn something. That's not gonna happen. Not up in here, not today. And boom goes the dynamite.
Fair, firm, compassionate. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Paul Green claims his client agreed to attend a non-refundable leadership retreat and says she wasted his money when she left at the end of the first day. Mr. Green is suing Grace Stevens in the amount of $2,400.
All rise. Remain standing and come to order. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
All parties been sworn, Your Honor.
Judge Eboni Thomas. Mr. Green, you weren't happy after hiring Ms. Stevens to go on a retreat. Now you want her to pay you the monies that were expended as a result.
Exactly, Your Honor. Those monies were non-refundable.
And why did you choose Ms. Stevens to be the person that was taking advantage of this retreat, this leadership summit?
I knew her through our profession,
And what was your impression of her?
I liked her very much.
Why did you like her?
Because she was a very competent, very measured person. I thought she would do very well at her new job.
So this new job that she had entailed what exactly? Do you know?
Yes, of course, Your Honor, and that's why I'm particularly upset. The agency she works for, Education is Everything, has been a client of mine for many, many years.
Yes, sir.
I know the agency, I know the work they do, and I was excited that she would attend this nature-based leadership summit. It was a 3-day event. She actually signed a contract. I don't know if Your Honor has it.
I'll take a look. And while I'm looking at that contract, Ms. Stevens, we've been spending a lot of time talking about you. I know you're right there next to me. And this organization, it's called Education is Everything?
Yes.
And you were hired to perform what duties exactly?
I have been working there for about 6 years, and the previous director resigned, and I was
Elevated?
I was elevated.
Let's talk about that retreat.
My impression of it was
Yes, ma'am.
that it was a leadership, professional development summit/retreat.
Yes.
And the goals, as it was explained to me by Paul, were to encourage networking opportunities, how to develop skills as a leader, and how to develop my confidence managing more people.
Who made the decision as to whether or not Ms. Stevens would be selected? Was that solely your decision,
Yes,
sir?
sir.
That was in your discretion?
Yes, we choose 4 people a year to go on this summit. But she didn't have to go.
Right.
We invited her. She agreed. She signed the contract that she would stay there for 3 days.
Okay.
And she didn't.
I see a signature here saying, I agree to attend the Leadership and Wellness Summit. You're expected to stay the duration. You are to engage in all activities outlined by the summit. You're to provide your own transportation to and from the summit. And you will submit a report detailing your experience.
That's correct.
Okay. And you signed and dated this.
That's correct.
We didn't force her, Your Honor, to go.
Okay. You wanted to go.
Yes, of course I wanted to go. I highly respect Paul and his efforts to mentor me.
Okay.
Yes.
So you go to the summit and take me from there.
Well, I wasn't provided with an itinerary or agenda until that day. And the first thing we did when I got there was we did a strenuous 3-mile hike to
Okay.
just a location that had some mud. It was like an empty field. So, and then they asked us to, you're not going to believe this, but put our faces in the mud to be grounded. So I had, number one, I didn't.
Did I laugh out loud?
Yeah, he did.
So I was taken aback by that. Number one, I wasn't aware we would do a 3-mile hike, so I wasn't dressed appropriately. And I definitely did not know I was going to be putting my face in mud or being asked to do that.
Okay, did you do it?
No, I did not.
Okay.
And then, when we were finished with that team building exercise, we were asked to hike another 2 miles to a creek, a very dirty creek, unsanitary creek, and we were asked to jump in, to cleanse ourselves.
Your Honor, I'm
Hold on a
sorry.
moment, I'll come back to you. And did you choose to cleanse yourself?
No, sir, I did not.
You were like, that's not happening.
That's not happening today, no.
That was a no-go, all right? And then what happened?
So after that awkward encounter, we marched back to our original location, and we were going to have a meal. So I was pretty hungry, very hot, very tired, and the meal that they served was a salad, basically a salad. And since we were out in a remote location, there was no electricity. The salad looked kind of funky, looked hot. I'm also diabetic, so I was unable to nourish myself with just a salad.
Coming up on America's Court.
Goat yoga is, you do.
Is that a thing?
Yes, that's the thing. They also do it without.
Because I see people in the audience going, oh,
Yeah.
goat yoga?
No.
Oh, yeah, I'm all in on that.
Yeah, that's a California thing.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Paul Green, who is suing Grace Stevens for breach of contract.
This is day one.
That's right.
It's not going well.
No, it's not
That would be
going
an understatement.
well. Correct.
Mr. Green, let me hear from you, sir. You wanted to jump in.
Well, she omits an important fact, Your Honor.
Which is?
The minute she got there, before the day started, she was handed an itinerary, a schedule. And if I can just read.
Well, you don't have to read it to me. I can just take a look at it.
Okay, there's
okay.
goat yoga. There's
He reads it anyway.
mud
Okay.
therapy. I'm sorry, but
Well,
she.
I tell you what, let me see it.
Yes,
Anything
sir.
else you want to give him?
And if there's any other evidence,
Yes,
this would be the time.
This is my receipt
That's
that
okay.
says
Give
no
it to me, and I'll give it to him.
refund.
That's
Okay.
it.
Yes.
All right. So we've got two different items. Thank you, sir. And the first is the itinerary, and it talks about the hike, the grounding activities, hike back to camp, lunch, a break, goat yoga. What does it involve goats?
Well, I didn't get to go to that part, but I was explained to by the other attendees that you would do yoga with goats in attendance.
Your Honor, this was not a weekend in Palm Springs.
No, I'm just for my own
Right.
curiosity.
Goat yoga is, you do.
Is that a thing?
Yes, that's the thing. They also do it without.
Because I see people in the audience going, oh, goat yoga? Oh, yeah, I'm all in on that.
Yeah, that's a California thing.
Okay. Of course it is.
Of course.
That's how we roll. We've always inventing all kind of new stuff.
You do yoga next to a goat. And
this is real.
Yes, it's real. You pay.
Why? Why would you do yoga next to a goat?
I suppose there's a certain bonding. I don't know. But it's also done with alpacas. Alpaca
Really?
yoga. Yes. But
You know, I tell you, I love my job because here at America's Court, I am constantly learning new things. Because I'm sitting here like, goat yoga, and many of you in the audience are like, you need to get with the times, Judge.
I'm glad that Your Honor is making a point about goat yoga and maybe mud therapy. I would have seen right away that I'm not at a hotel in Santa Monica for a conference.
Okay.
And
This is not a Four Seasons gourmet meal.
correct. She saw that at 7:45 before anything started. She should have said, look, this is not for me. I'm not into mud therapy, and I don't like goats. And, and had she called me, Had she let me know that this was not for her.
You threaded that needle really well.
Well,
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
And in understanding what you're saying, I don't disagree. So let me go back to Ms. Stevens. What say you?
I was a little overwhelmed, to be honest. I didn't know what to think. I've been to many professional leadership summits. None of them were like this.
But you saw goat yogurt and mud therapy.
No, you've done well with making the point.
Thank you, Your
I think
Honor.
I can take it from here.
I'm questioning whether or not this is for me, whether I can stay, and whether my health can sustain this.
Over the course of the
Yes.
additional days.
Yes.
Did you convey and express that to anybody?
I mentioned it to one of the, I guess, summit counselors, and they said, well, we will get back to the mess tent soon, and you can have something to eat and drink.
So you missed the yoga. What about the leadership panel?
Didn't get to the leadership panel either.
What about the keynote speaker?
I went to the keynote speaker.
Okay.
Yes.
And then there was a dinner.
And there was a dinner, yes. I was, at this point, I was shaky. I was,
Because of your diabetes.
because of my diabetes and because of the
I have
snack that
family
we had.
members that are diabetic, and you got to be real careful with
Yes.
eating and the timing. And
Yes.
Are you to the extent where you're constantly checking your glucose in terms of?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have a monitor that I wear, and I printed out my
That
statistics
you wear in your
on that.
purse, and so any given time you can check what your reading is.
Yeah, I have it strapped to me, that's right.
Okay.
So I could see that
It was
you know,
trending down?
It was trending down, trending into the red, which is hazardous for my health.
Yes, yes.
So,
Okay.
would
I
you
get
like me
it.
to hand that to you?
Please.
Want to see all that?
And I am very familiar with the situation
everything
involving
you want.
diabetics, and
Whatever
it
you want,
is
Sean.
not something to play with.
Thanks.
Your Honor, so am I.
Hold on a moment, sir. I haven't forgotten about you. Because I know you also gave me a second piece of paper which talked about this, because you paid for Ms. Stevens to attend, as well as the other 3 people.
And it
correct?
says non-refundable on the receipt.
Right, because you're paying a company to do this
Yes, sir.
collectively. All right.
Coming up on America's Court.
At the end of the day, I went back to my yurt. Everybody had their private
You
yurt.
went back to your,
Yurt.
and tell folks what a yurt is.
A yurt is a circular tent.
This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Paul Green, who is suing Grace Stevens for breach of contract.
Did you end up leaving the first day, or did you stay until the second day?
First day.
Okay.
So
what
when-
was the thing, just because for the most part, other than the keynote speaker, what was the breaking point for you?
The breaking point, I was trying to
Because
be
you're still there. The
professional.
keynote speaker was around 6 p.m.
Yes. Trying to be professional and muscle through it. At the end of the day, I went back to my yurt. Everybody had their private
You
yurt.
went back to your,
Yurt.
and tell folks what a yurt is.
A yurt is a circular tent.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very nice. It was a very nice yurt.
Go
So I enter my assigned yurt, and there were mice and rats on the floor, crawling on the walls, and going over my bag. And it was at that point I had personally
You were
reached.
like, check, please.
That was it. Yes. I thought I was going to get bitten. They
Yeah, I
carry
don't do well with
diseases.
mice, and-
so
and
I personally,
They
I said
carry
that's
vermin, and yeah, it's just a no for me as well. I get it.
it. Yes.
And so the bottom line is, she didn't make it to days 2 and 3.
She left before day 1. She
Right.
left it before
Right
the
after
night.
the mice, you were like, I'm
Yes.
out.
That's correct.
All right. And so you didn't get the benefit of day 2 and 3. You didn't get the benefit of having expended these costs for someone to have this 3-day experience for the benefit of the organization. So the least she can do is compensate.
Yes, sir.
Coming up on America's Court.
I could have replaced her. We had other people on a waiting list. They would have
Now
taken
you got my attention.
This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Paul Green, who is suing Grace Stevens for breach of contract.
And I do need to talk about the diabetes because I didn't know she had diabetes. No one knew she had
Well,
diabetes.
oftentimes people, if they have cancer, they may not share that either. They may not share
However,
Personal health
if, sir,
decision.
Listen to what I'm
Personal
saying.
health decision. Didn't want to share that
People
with you.
have, even family members aren't allowed to see other people's medical records unless they give authorization.
Of course.
So why would I tell an employer about my personal health situation unless I'm somehow required to?
I'm not asking her to tell the employer. I'm asking her to tell the people running the summit that I need a special diet.
Let's assume this is the mountain you're going to die on. You're going to die on this mountain of, she should have let people know about her diabetes. That totally negates everything else we just talked about. That's one factor amongst many. You're saying ultimately that she should have to pay you back the entire cost because it didn't work out based on objective factors that she's presenting to me.
Yes, and there's one other reason that she should be responsible for the $2,400.
Which is?
She could have called me that first morning.
And what would that have done?
I could have replaced her. We had other people on a waiting list. They would have
Now
taken
you got my attention. Why didn't you call them and say, I can't do this, I got to go?
I did not have a cell phone connection. We were in the middle of a wilderness experience.
Well, then how did you get home?
I drove home.
You drove there?
Yes.
Okay. And you did not have any capability to communicate to someone? What about even the people that were running the...
I let them know. I gave them verbal
This isn't working
notification.
out for me, I'm going to be leaving.
Yes.
Judge Ross's verdict when America's Court returns. This is America's Court with Judge Ross.
The question is, should she have to pay, Ms. Stevens have to pay the $2,400 based on what she conveyed to me in terms of her experience when she did not ask to be selected for this event? Is she contractually obligated to pay for, well, and it wouldn't even be the $2,400 because at a minimum, she spent one day there. If I divide that by 3, yeah, that's $800 a day, $1,800, $1,600, $2,400.
If that's your
she would
thinking.
be, and you would at most be entitled to $1,600. And
I'll
that
take
would,
it.
and that, based on the evidence and the testimony before this court, the gavel has to come down in favor of the defendant. Because ultimately, in the contract that she signed, you didn't have a provision stating failure to not stay the entire 3 days will result in you being charged for the cost of this event. What you have is something, a receipt that says no refunds to you, but it does not apply to her. And because this was a gift, and she said, I would be willing to accept the gift, you cannot hold her legally responsible for that financial compensation. Ergo, your matter's dismissed. That is the order. Case closed.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been dismissed. This has been a production of Allen Media Group.